Welcome to the Young Entrepreneur's Journey with your host, Yasmina Ellins.
Welcome to the Young Entrepreneur's Journey, where we take the skills, mindset, and attitude needed to achieve any entrepreneurial endeavor, whether you're just starting out or you're already on your journey. And now, our host, Yasmina Ellins.
Hello and welcome back to the Young Entrepreneur's Journey podcast with your host, Yasmina Ellins. And today I have the absolute pleasure of chatting with Sam Matheson, who's joining me all the way from Australia. It's really, really late his time now. He's got a really strange sleep schedule, but that's the entrepreneurial life. And a bit about Sam, he's a former dating coach for one of the top companies out there, really, really elite. He also went to college for golf and was basically an elite amateur on track to becoming a professional golfer. And he's also a social circle networking genius. And that's his thing, right? He's so good at networking and he's got such experience in putting himself around high level individuals. And just with no experience at all in marketing, through his networking abilities, he managed to do marketing and get a job as a marketer for F45, which is a fitness company, which is really, really incredible. And he's also in the e-commerce space that got him to drop shipping. And right now, what he's focused on is he really, really just wants to give back with all of the things that he's learned from all of his lessons in entrepreneurship, life, business, networking, hustling. And with that said, it's an absolute pleasure having you on today, Sam.
Thank you very much. That was an amazing intro. I'm not going to lie. That was very good.
Thank you. I tried my best. Yeah, awesome. So my first question for you, Sam, is what originally got you onto your entrepreneurial journey?
My dad definitely got me into it when I was young. I had a split family, so my parents were never together. So ever since I was born. And from there, it's like I got those weekends with my dad, so we'd make the most of it. And I think it was like 5 or 6, and he got me into reading self-development books, anything. As a 5-year-old, you don't really understand what's going on. But I do remember those times we would sit down and he would show me different books that he was reading back in the day. This would have been 99, 2000. And just to grow up, always being around the self-development niche, you know, those osmosis lessons that I learned from him, looking up to him. And from there, that sort of just continued into the trying to become a professional golfer for so long. I was been playing for, 25 years in total. And I took all those lessons I learned from there. Then I got into a bad breakup. Obviously, a lot of stuff happens when you are very isolated in the golf course. It was very isolating for me in sort of like a country town and not many people there. So I didn't get to sort of relate too much. And then from there, I spiraled down to a lot of depression and, ended up abusing a few pills here and there. I will say a bit of a sleeping pill addiction. From there, it led me to a fuck it moment, but a brink moment where I was like, I need to have a life-changing experience. And it was right to the point where it was going to be either something happened or I wasn't going to be here. And I found this company that I did end up working for 11 months later, which was really, really cool, which was the dating company. And that made me take control of one aspect of my life. When I had that controlled, I then was like, okay, well, I need some other areas. So my health, my wealth, my higher purpose, those things that I really strive for. I was like, this is what I need to handle. So I ended up trying to really double down on handling them. And then when I got a little bit, I'm not there, don't get me wrong. It's always a journey with entrepreneurship. I'm never there. But I started to be like, okay, well, I've got a little bit of a handle now. And then from there, I was like, well, I have all these lessons. And now I'm living very congruently to what I believe in my life. I really wasn't before. And I was trying to get on track. And now that I'm like congruent, I feel like when I can speak to individuals, I can be my authentic self because I'm actually living that life now. And I feel very in alignment. So it hits people a little bit differently to when I was trying to before. That's that art of like trying to do something. It doesn't really fit. But when you just experience and you be it and you live it, it just hits differently. It's this energetic sort of ether we talk about.
Yeah, I think that's really incredible. I think that's what leads a lot of people into entrepreneurship. I know it did with me, where you just have this, as you were saying, a fuck it moment in your life where you're like, this will not stand anymore. And I've had a few of those when it comes to personal development and entrepreneurship. And just it's kind of about, how can I continuously get better to become the best version of myself? And when you're working on yourself, to become the best that you can possibly be, and not trying to be perfect, but just improving your life in the different areas of your life that you have every single day, just 1% better, like you can end up doing some amazing things. And I think that's what brings about that authenticity that you're talking about. That's really, really interesting. So
yeah, it's
I'd love,
like you said, it's about accepting not being perfect. That's a great way to put it. And just being
exactly
in that moment with you, and the patience there. You gotta have like patience with it, which I feel like you definitely do have, and I do have, and it's a hidden talent that some people can obtain. That patience to be like, okay, well, I might not be there, but I'm getting there each and every day.
Definitely. And I'm curious to know, how did this lead into your journey of becoming such a fantastic networker?
I think when I wanted to have my sort of relationships handled, it was, with girls, with my parents, even with my family. It wasn't just, it just encompassed all this relationship. I was like, okay, well, this is a way that I don't really have too many friends. And I was like, well, I've got my high school friends, which is cool. And then when I was in the dating coach, all of them disappeared. They didn't want to associate with me, which was a real sad thing. And I was like, well, all right, this is an opportunity rather than a hindrance at all. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start again. I'm going to just start from ground zero, literally ground zero. And that's what a lot of people are scared of. They're scared of starting, of losing everything, of going broke, going bankrupt. When you go there, it's like, okay, it's not as scary as I thought. Now it's all just about going up. So from there, it was like, okay, well, I just had to look at, how to get to the next step. So the first thing, I just made some goals. I put some goals down, and then I've always been a goal setter. And I was like, okay, I want this amount of people. I want to know these people. And then I realized, okay, well, maybe that's too far of a leap. I wanted to know celebrities. I wanted to know this. And it might be too far of a leap right now where I was at the bottom. But I was like, in the future it might. So I just aimed a little bit higher. So I was like, okay, I want to have 5 friends. So I literally actively was like, okay, what is the next step? I always look for, as you said, that next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? So I found, one person. I was like, cool, I've done, 1/5 of my journey. That's really cool. And then from there, I've always been pretty socially calibrated. So I understand where people's emotions lie, and through the whole sort of spectrum of the relationship stuff that I worked on, I understood the value exchange within people. And I really kind of hit on that. I'm like, people love when other people give value, and they hate takers in life. They hate when people just take their energy, take their money, take their resources. So you've got to be a giver. Now, there's a book by Adam Grant, don't know if you read it, it's called Give and Take. And there's 3 types of model he talks about. It's like, one is a giver. He just gives value. He gives without the expectation of something in return. So just giving value. There's the takers that just take for themselves. And then there's the matchers that says, I won't do anything for you if you don't do anything for me. So when I became that giver, when I became that value provider, and it wasn't with the resources, I didn't have much, but I gave my time, my energy, my happiness, my joy, just anything I could have that was part of me, my personality, my kind of obscure understanding of how events work and how to plan them and stuff like that. So I just used, I did a value arbitrage of everything that I had. And then I started to slowly gain momentum. And then from there, it's like I found how I could get to the most valuable people in the world, value in today's society. Let's just not put any value on anyone, but let's say high status people that do have accomplished a lot in their life, or even if they haven't, they still have a lot of things that you might want to associate with. So yeah, I just started from there to go up, and it's like a process that I learned, and then I wrote it down. Mentors are a great thing too. A lot of mentors. I can't say I took all the advice. A lot of the things helped with that. So I had a few mentors that really helped with that, such as you. For other people, in my position, you were that mentor, that person that had a podcast that I was listening to. I would write everything down, everything they said. Pretty much, I had books stacked, and I was like, but they said this and they said that, just to learn something.
Yeah, definitely. That's really powerful. I think a lot of people are really scared of losing everything, as you were saying. And it is scary because we're biologically wired to fear loss. Because if back in the day you're in the tribe, in the savannah, and you lose your food and you lose your resources, then you're screwed. You're going to die alone. But like if you're going to gain one extra thing, right? It's not as much of a big deal as losing everything. So we do have that loss aversion bias. But I do think there's something beautiful about being like, okay, I'm sitting at the bottom. Now I can just build. Now I'm on a clean blank slate. Now I can just restart and create whatever life I want, which I think is a really liberating thing.
It's like a lot of actors that get typecast in a role. They almost wish they could just not have done that role, which is, obviously hard for them to say, but start at that blank slate again to recreate themselves. So it's never a bad thing. Again, that might be one of a good ability that I have to reframe a lot of things that happen to me. I look at the worst moments in my life and I reframe them so much so that I end up starting to believe my own different opinion about the event. So much so that becomes my reality. I can't even remember what I used to think about it. And that's the way that I've used those negative things as more positive and more things to really lift my life. And have you done that? Any sort of reframing and stuff? Have you learned that?
I haven't actively, no. Is that where you literally got out a journal and you wrote down the bad events that you had in your life? And then you were like, okay, what's good about this?
Yeah, pretty much. Really looking at it from a different filter, maybe even putting yourself outside your body a little bit and being like, okay, you're not yourself, just say, just imagine and be like, okay, this event happened. Where can I see that there was good in it? What good came of it? Anything. It might have been just one thing. It might have been, just the minutest thing. Okay. And start to go from there, because there's a thing called a reticular activation, which is in your brain. So it's like if I say, every car outside's yellow, you start to pick up the yellow cars. Or it's like, the water's all gray. It's never blue. And then you start to see gray water and you're like, oh, that's true. Your brain starts to actively pick those things up it hasn't seen. Or a great one today was cracks in the wall. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any cracks in our wall. And I just looked at all our roof and I'm like, holy crap, there's so many cracks. I've never seen them other than today. So it's that RAS, which looks at the negative and then just starts to find more and more evidence that promotes and like sort of makes that belief worse in that event. So just looking at that little minute positivity in a bad event starts to create that cascade effect of looking for more and more positive things in that event.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Jocko Willink says, where any event that happens in your life, doesn't matter what it is, just say good. Because when you say good after that, now it becomes an opportunity. It's not this like big horrible thing. It's like, good, now I get to do this. Or good, I learned this and I became stronger. Whatever the event is, I think that's just such a great way to live, because then you give yourself the power back and then you actually become an agent of change as opposed to a victim.
Yeah, I really do like his stuff. It's really, really cool. That mentality, that army mentality, boot camp instructor mentality. Yeah,
that's one interesting thing that you were saying earlier was on the topic of giving value. And this is something that I live by as well. I live by giving value because the law of reciprocity, right? Yeah. If someone gives to you, you're like, oh, you feel emotionally obligated. You feel like there's some sort of emotional debt to this person. You're like, what can I do? I've had people in my life that they like bring me value, like so much value. I'm sitting there like, how can I help you out? Let me help you. Tell me what you're working on. Sometimes they will, but you know what really, really annoys me is when they're like, oh, no, don't worry about it. I'm like, what? Let me help you. And I feel like, exactly. It's such a powerful thing. So I'm curious to hear, because you said you've managed to build relationships with some of the top people out there, some of the top people in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Using that principle, which is good.
How did you use that? Can you give some examples of how you've used that principle to build those kinds of relationships with people? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll dive deep down in the rabbit hole. I think it was really interesting in one of your other interviews when you sent the Google document to your business partner, Greg, and you were just giving value. Like explain like what was your mentality before I answered, and it might change my answer a little bit, because that was incredible. When I was listening to it, I was like, wow, that's a boss move. Right there. Yes. So for context, for anyone who hasn't listened to that interview on Greg Santos' podcast, Outlier Circle, we were talking about what was our story and how we started doing business together. And I'd hopped on some of his morning calls, the Morning Hustlers, and I was like, this is great. I'm getting so much value. This is fantastic. Then Greg goes, hey, I've made this course. it would usually cost this much. I'm going to give it to the first few people for free. I'd love some feedback. So I'm like, I like Greg. I want to help Greg. This is a cool course. I'm going to probably watch it anyway. So I might as well, especially since I'm getting it for free, I'm like, I might as well give as much value as possible. And on every single video he made that course, like I took an afternoon, just every single video, I put very detailed notes on exactly what was said, exactly what I liked, exactly what could be improved. Then I didn't even just stop at the course itself. I went to the sales funnel and I said, here, this is great. This could be better. And it was like this huge Google document. And then I just sent it to Greg and he was like, what? That's crazy. And just because it didn't take extra time. Like, other people would allocate that time watching Netflix. I instead allocated that time learning something and adding value to someone. And that was a big turning point in our relationship where I thought, damn, like, I think this would be a great person to go into business with.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's when we go deep dive, how you said that reciprocity, I want to go like a little bit into that, because the idea is from a Robert Cialdini influence. Obviously, when you give to others, they feel almost in debt to you. The biggest thing that when someone learns that is that they start to give a lot, and there's this hidden underlying message, like this sort of ultimatum that it's like, oh, okay, now someone can give something back to me. I wonder what they're going to give me. You know what I mean? And it's like you might give a compliment to something, or you might ask someone how someone's day is, right? And you're really only listening. You're not listening to them, and you're just waiting for them to ask how your day was, and you're like, oh yeah, my day was good, blah blah blah. Just like start to go on, or I call it. Have you ever heard of a one-upper? A guy or a girl, and it just, you say a story and they've got a better story and they want to one-up you. Those type of people are again, this book, Adam Grant talks about, they're matches, they're not givers, but you giving the Google document is straight just giving value. As you said, just straight giving value. There's no expectation of anything in return. You're just simply doing it because you put your time, your effort, your energy, and you're just giving it to him simply because you just want to. You just think it'll just help. And there's no expectation of, obviously in that situation, Greg giving you anything back. And I think that's really important to understand. It's like when you are giving or when you are doing great things, my mentor, Owen Cook, always talks about there's an intent, you're giving value, but you're free from the outcome. You don't expect anything in return. There's no outcome. And that it really applies to life when you do anything, especially with when you're doing social networking. You can want to be someone's friend. That is the intent. Everything you do should have an intent behind. Otherwise, what are you doing? Even by watching a Netflix show, there's an intent that you want to get laughter, you want to have fun, you just want to, experience something. There's an intent there, but a lot of people have this outcome. They want something from it. They're in that taking mentality. They take something. I need something for myself. And it's really when you can have that flip where you're like, that's my intent, but I'm free from this outcome. I have to push the outcome away and expect the unexpected, but still have an intent in mind, So it's a real big paradox that not a lot of people get, but it's this teeter. And when you are dealing with sort of social circles and stuff like that, you got to understand that becoming someone's friend or networking. Have you ever gone to a coffee meetup, and then it just doesn't go anywhere or anything like something like that? It just doesn't really work. And you try to make it work and it really doesn't. A lot of the time it's because you're both outcome dependent. You want an outcome to happen instead of just experiencing it. And there's a quote, I don't know if you've watched the movie $1 Billion Boys Club. It's about like investors and stuff. And there's a quote. A great movie to watch. I really like it. And there's a quote where a guy goes, I don't invest in companies or businesses, I invest in relationships. So your relationship is your number one key to gaining any sort of high value person into your life or a social circle. It's about the relationships, not about what you can give each other. It's about that relationship. And when you can understand that, that's when you can open up a lot of secrets. Because I know you have some secrets that you do, because I've written down a bunch of stuff that I sort of do that I learned off your podcast and especially other people that you interviewed, how kind of like, take for example, I'm going to put you on the spot here. How you approached me to do the interview was so precise and it was so simple that I can see how a lot of people take you up on the offer of doing, say, this podcast, because you just give value. It's simple. Yeah. It's almost like you've learnt the art of hidden communication without expecting anything, but there's still the intent of let's do something together. But it's not as if like you were going to gain value, more value than I was, or I was going to gain more value. It was just let's go do something, let's create, let's have fun. Like there's the intent behind it. So that's what I really love about how you did that.
Yeah, thank you. It's really powerful. It's just, again, that sort of abundance mentality of, oh, I had this introduction to you. You seem like a really cool person. This is the person we have in common. I think they're a great person. This is how I know this person. Then this is what I'm up to. This is why I'm speaking to you. Here are all my creds, Buddha's big undeniable what's it called? It's like a big undeniable dominating authority, right? Here are my Buddhas. Here's why you should talk to me, basically. I think you seem really cool. This is why I'd love to speak with you, have you on a podcast. If not, no worries. If you're too busy, I totally understand. It's not like I needed you. It's not like I needed to interview you. I just wanted to. Yeah, I think that's such a powerful thing.
You come from that abundant mind frame instead of scarcity, instead of that want. Like a lot of people, they might give a compliment because it's like, please like me. Because if you like me, then I can like myself more, and you said it was that abundant mentality and you didn't have any scarcity behind it. And I think a lot of the time, that's the biggest mindset that people have to have, that abundant mindset. It might not be in reality, but you can reframe it to yourself to see abundance in your life. And then again, as I said before, the RS flip, you start to see a lot more abundance in your life. And you're like, wow, well, I do have that. And that's a great key that I reckon. And then you were talking about before that I did like was I think I was talking about actually the socially calibrated. You got to be understand social calibration when you're dealing with people. And then one of the biggest social calibrations is understanding what you said. It's like that abundance that you're not pressuring it and you're not trying to force something that's not growing naturally as it is by your message. Your message was very natural. And by forcing or people trying to be friends with each other, trying to grow that social circle, or trying to just connect with, business people, high value people can sense that scarcity or that neediness that comes from it. And to create that abundant mindset where it is just, you are giving value. If they want to take value, great. And they want to give it back, great. If not, no worries. It's okay. There's so many people in the world that will take that and it will grow naturally. And that's what I do like about that.
I love to switch that mentality from I hope this person likes me to I hope that I like this person. Like, does this person actually make sense in my life? There are several people I've met and they might be very wealthy. They might be very high value people, but we don't really have a connection. We don't really vibe. And so it doesn't make sense to try and force anything or to get anything from them because, again, you should respect the relationship more than you can respect what you can gain from a person, right? It's like, but when you have that natural synergy, if we get along really well and we want to help each other out, that's such a powerful thing. So I'd love to ask you, how did you use your communication and networking skills to network your way into becoming a marketer for the fitness company F45?
So again, I met a guy in Sydney who I didn't know anything about him, didn't really know too much about his business. And I remember one day, he started, I would take him out for drinks and we'd have some drinks and go socialize and just have fun. And then I started to invest more and more into him. He seems like a cool dude. We just hung out a bunch. And that's one of the keys is that you've got to develop a relationship with someone in order to do any sort of business transaction. And I truly believe that because all of my business partners that I've ever had, especially with drop shipping or e-commerce and stuff, was I had a relationship or a friendship with them before anything else. That's a big key thing. So with that, I then go into more specifics. How I did it was I knew he needed a marketer and I could tell that there wasn't too many people by subtle things that he was dropping, subtle hints at words. I could tell that there wasn't too many people applying for the job. And he was asking me, and I did have, I would be 100% honest, right? And I would say, look, I have a little bit of experience, yes. I can do things, but I definitely think that in the next this amount of time, I'll be able to not only learn this, but be very proficient and understand it. Look, I've been, going to the gym all my life, and I started to look almost like sales pitching a little bit on who I was, but not what I could do, but just who I was. And you're like, me, I'm a hard worker. Like we've hung out, we've definitely done things. I know the value that we both hold to each other. And then I started to cater towards his like emotional side. I'm like, bro, look, think how epic it would be just me and you just running the show and doing it, and started to create this whole, not fantasy, but this whole like emotional thing behind him. And when it got to a point where it was so emotional, so many pros, and so I was just literally just doing classic marketing techniques. I was marketing myself as not a marketer to get a marketing job. So I ended up just being able to market myself so well that he was like, well, this guy's perfect for it. So I was like, and then from there, it's like, again, yeah, he was like, well, I can't not hire you after that. That was amazing. I was like, that's what I like. So I ended up doing that job for about a year, and that was a crazy experience. A really, really nice experience to be able to learn marketing, and I learned so much more, even though it wasn't what I wanted to do. Don't get me wrong, but I learned a hell of a lot about just online stuff in general. And that's really crazy. When you're online, you learn so much about online things and living in this digital world that we live in. And I think in the next 10 years, you'll see it just skyrocket and nearly everything will be online at the moment.
Definitely. Yeah. I think in that story, just showing like your 100% honesty, but then also showing that you're an adaptable person who can learn fast, and you estimate that this time you're going to be able to do these things is such a powerful thing. And I also think the fact that in your other business ventures with your business partners, you had a friendship, you had a relationship is so important, because I think so many people go into business with someone they're like, they had a coffee and they're like, oh, this is great. This is great. Let's go into business together. It's like, that's like saying you go on a date with someone, then you're like, oh, this person's awesome. Let's get married after like one day, right? But when you have... Yeah, it is. It's like trust is such an important thing in a business relationship. And so just building those relationships is extremely important.
Oh, 100%. You're not wrong there. And I think now the next thing, it's like to be able to find someone like that, that was the key thing. That was the more how I was able to use all my value and get that person in my circle. And that was a big thing that I know was... I saw the opportunity there and took it. So that was the opportunity. It wasn't even getting the job or anything like that. He just liked me. I would have probably just worked with him anyway, doing some random stuff. But the opportunity was just getting him into my circle, my social circle, and giving him so much value. And that was the biggest thing, that as again, he felt the need to reciprocate something in return, which was kind of cool. And then obviously I did well at pitching him. But yeah, I think that was a cool thing that I can definitely talk about, which is the social circle dynamic and how to get more people like that offer you jobs or you go into business with, because that's a specific key that not a lot of people either get time for. That we've just been through coronavirus, and for me, it's like coronavirus was the greatest thing. I met more friends in Corona in the whole time than I had before, using like simple principles. And obviously reading a lot of books does help. But one of the key things that I did realize that I'd love to share with you over the last couple of weeks is, I don't know what the whole situation in the world is like, or where you are, or where I was. We had a limit of 10 people. That's all we could see, 10 people. It was 5 before, then 10. It was 10 for a while, then it was 20. So I used a thing called a container event. Now, a container event that I like to call is just an ongoing thing that I invited random people to. Obviously cap it on at the maximum it could, but I just kept it going, just an ongoing thing. And that's a consistency, because you can have a coffee with someone and then you said like, it's like, oh, what, are we going into business now? But no, it's like, I started a friendship with a lot of these people, and that's what you want to do. You want to actually have a friendship before anything else. So the container event was just a sushi day we used to have. That's it, a sushi on a Thursday. It wasn't anything big. You can even have a coffee day at a coffee club, and you just invite a bunch of people. But it's not about the people that turn up the first week, the second week, the third week. It's about the people that turn up the 8th, the 9th, the 10th week, the consistency, and not getting bogged down about no one coming to your events. Because the greatest people that I ever met came at the 6th, 7th, and 8th event we threw. We just had a coffee day. We had sushi days. We went bowling. With Corona going, all this stuff will come back. Or you might have a picnic day, or you might just go do some fun thing with someone. Just like you could have just a business connection day. You go just have a table. You book out a space or something like that, and you just invite a bunch of people. But by doing that consistently, the consistency behind doing something like that, you will find that people will bring other connections that you had no chance of meeting before. And a lot of my time, the people that I met were brought by other people. So that's how you grow it. Just slowly start to grow and grow, and obviously use social media as a tool. We condemn social media so much, except we use social media for the wrong thing. We forget the first word of social media, which is to be social on it. It's all about the media, usually media content. So I used it to be social. So even the events that I threw, I Instagrammed them, I tagged everyone. I made sure we were having such a good time, because I wasn't pitching someone on the first time I threw an event. I wasn't pitching them on the second time or the third time. But by the 6th or 7th, they were texting me being like, are we still doing this day? At the moment, I'm trying a workspace hustle. So in the Gold Coast, we're going to every single working space in the whole of the Gold Coast. There's like 15 workspaces. And I always say, like, I hype it up, and I'm like, we're going to find the best working hub space for entrepreneurs in the whole of the Gold Coast, and no one's going to know. So, we had the first week, we had 3 people, and then I started texting everyone. Then we had 5 people, and then we had 7 people last week, and then we got 12 people locked in for Wednesday this week. And then I'm like, okay, so I started to get a few influencers involved, and now they're messaging other workspaces being like, can we use your space for free? We've got this amount of people coming. So now I'm using their value and other people's value to find different working spaces. So I'm, again, value arbitraging everything I've got, and then getting them to bring more people. I'm investing, other people see it. So I'm using all my resources to connect more people with each other and be, as I said, quote unquote, social, being social with more people. So those are the things that I reckon after Corona starts to settle down a little bit more in the coming months, that you can incorporate to find these new business connections that you have. Obviously, for me, a lot more social connections. But then again, I keep running into business connections somehow. By being social, I'm finding more business connections, which is a crazy idea.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a great way to bring people into your network. And you're basically being a social broker as well, because anyone else who comes to one of your container events is going to form relationships with other people at the container events. And you might not have anything to do with their relationships except for the fact that they were both at your event. But all of that value and that gratitude is going to be attributed to you by the mere fact that it was your event. How crazy is that?
Yeah. The birthday party, they call it the birthday party theory. It's like it's your birthday every event because you've organized everyone. So everyone looks at you as the center of everything, the center of the center of the friendship. And then, it's a cool little idea. Yeah.
I also love your working space idea, because I think with entrepreneurs, a big problem that they have is, 1, finding people and making those connections. And 2, just like, it can be quite lonely because you don't have the same, like, I'm in an office workspace with my 9-to-5 colleagues and we go out with my colleagues afterwards. It's not that kind of culture. And often you're working on your own. And so I think just taking that, like, okay, I'm still going to get stuff done. I'm still going to be productive, but I'm going to make connections while I do that by going on a workspace hustle is such an ingenious idea.
And I can already see the one objection that most people, that it's like, what if I like doing it by myself and like I don't know anyone and there's no entrepreneurs where I live. I've checked all of LinkedIn, there's no one. And I'm like, well, start to dictate to other people, your friends, what a cool thing you're doing and try to get them involved with it. If it's like, obviously doing your online stuff, a lot of the time I'm pitching other people on becoming e-commerce, like doing e-commerce, so I can just bring them in the space so I have more e-commerce people to talk about. Or before it was like, with F45, I would just start to be like, yo, you got to start doing marketing. You got to pitch marketing to like other people. You're so good at writing. I know your blogs, you do blogs, like you could just do Facebook. And I would literally create them into becoming marketers with me just so I had friends to do it with. So I literally became like, I got my friends to become my e-commerce friends, or my digital friends, that we were digital nomads, as they say. So I literally done that. So, that excuse can be wiped out of everyone's head because they can create someone to work with.
I also think Corona is such a great opportunity to capitalize on building your network. So for instance, maybe like in London, for instance, where I am, it would be difficult to do container events because they're starting to hamper down restrictions, the amount of people you can meet and stuff like that. But you can do online events and you can make friends all around the world. Like we've never met in person. You're in Australia, I'm in the UK, we're on opposite ends of the world. Yet because we have this opportunity where everyone's online now, we can still form a friendship if we continue going to similar events or staying in the same circles. And it's just like the amount of international connections I've made just over the past few months is incredible. So there's definitely opportunity in that as well.
Like a free Zoom hangout or something like that. Just something that people can come in, talk e-commerce or talk any sort of digital marketing or this or that or anything like that you could create just now.
Yeah.
That's
whatever theme you want to make it. Have a theme, have a reason that people show up, and then make it really good so people want to keep coming and bring their friends. So kind of still diving down the relationship rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I know you talked earlier about the value of having mentors and the power in that. And so I'm wondering, what is the value in that for you? Why is having a mentor so important? What are some of the things that you've gained out of having great mentors? And how did you build relationships with mentors?
Well, I would say like I had two mentors within golf. Obviously, there's different mentors. I would say I'll give you an experience that I had. So I had any sort of athlete has coaches, right? And your coach might not be your mentor, it might not be the person you look after, but that's the person that's dictating to you how things should be done their way or their filter or what they've seen, and you're taking their experience. So I would say in person, the mentors that I have and the golf coaches, I went through a lot of golf coaches because it might be just the way that they speak to you. That's it. The way that you understand what they are saying. So one mentor or one golf coach would say something about a particular technique and it just wouldn't resonate with me that well. I could understand, but I couldn't. But then I would go to another golf coach and he'd say the exact same thing. And it would just hit me because the English language is so diverse, yet limited. There's only a sequence in which you can put things, but when they put in different sequences, it hits you on a different level. So I noticed that I'd hit one golf coach, and when I did, it was like everything he said just hit me differently. So when I found my mentors, it was more that they could speak to me on a level that I could so deeply understand. And I know other mentors or other people that are on, the internet, say, take other people, I'll say like Dan Locke or other sort of big influencers or people like Ty Lopez. I've never really resonated with them too much, but you're like your Gary Vaynerchuk's, someone that's like that, I just resonate so wholeheartedly. So for me, I didn't choose my mentors, they chose me, sort of thing, because I related to them so well, or they just spoke to me this different way. It's like anyone likes anything. You like your taste in music, everyone has a different taste in music. Why is that? They're saying it's the same kind of melodies, it's the same 4-chord songs, it might be the same guitar, same sort of everything, but it's just played differently by different people. So I would say just try to find what style of music or what style of mentor that you like, because I know the ones that I got, yeah, they definitely picked me, and from there I dug around. I did not dig around for them. I still looked for them, but I fell into that mentorship with them. And I know specifically when I'm talking about my mentor Owen, from there when I found that I just resonated so wholeheartedly with him, I got around him. I did anything to get around that person. And I went on, I saw every video, I did everything just to get around that energy. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be around, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, get around the sun, just get around the fire, get around it. And with that, I did something very risky. I kind of, found a credit card or got a credit card and just splurged out. But that was also the pivotal moment in my life that I made the best decision in my life, and then got an internship with them. So when I got an internship with him, again, I pitched myself. So I must be good at marketing. I pitched myself a lot to these people. And, but yeah, no, I did sacrifice a lot to go after my goals and have this clear vision of like, I want to work with this mentor. I wanted to get close with him. But again, that mentor picked me in the way that he could talk. And a lot of the time, a lot of the mentors I had were from YouTube or just to hearing someone speak, to understand their message. And I was like, yes, I resonate with that message. Like I wholeheartedly resonate with that. So it's okay if you don't have one. I would say, again, like you said before, being okay with not maybe having a mentor right this second, but still actively, again, the intent to have a mentor, but that free from outcome, by allowing that freedom, that space. That's what a lot of people don't do. They go after it so hard without allowing the vacuum of space to come in so that they can allow things into their life. And I think that's a great thing that I was able to do, create that space to allow great things to come. Bit of law of attraction, bit of this, a bit of that. But, you can say it's a bit esoteric, it's a bit in the ether, but I had the mentality. That was more of what I had there.
Yeah, you want it, but you don't need it.
Yes, 100%, which is great. Like everyone wants a teacher, everyone wants that, true. But yeah, I never chased it. I never needed it so badly. But, then again, if someone is in that position where they do need something, a little practical step is like, okay, go on YouTube and find what your message that you want, like not your message that you want, find out your problem. What is your problem? That someone is a little bit elevated or has what you want. That's what I always say. If you ever want to learn knowledge, look at the people that have exactly what you want. And I would be doing deep diving stuff. A lot of the fake YouTubers and fake people that have the Rolexes, the Lamborghinis, and they're all for rent. You can hire a Lambo. I think it's over the age of 30 for $3,500. It's not a big deal anymore. But if you want to be the person that wants materialistic things or wants the lifestyle that they're free to do anything, do some deep diving into the people and really understand if they're legit. And then from there, that's what I did. So I found, the legit people, especially now, because a lot of the time it is, I know not a friend of mine, a guy here got caught, and I was trying to tell people, I was like, it just didn't resonate with some people, and you could see. So you got to find that person that resonates with you the most.
Yeah, it's such a key thing. It's like we were saying before. Do you vibe? Great. Go do something together. Want it, but don't need it. Do you not vibe? Okay, just let it go. Let it go. Like, you don't need everyone to be your mentor. You just need those right people, right? And I'm curious to know what did you gain out of having those mentors? How did that transform your life?
Again, I was in a very deep, dark place when I did found it. So I gained my life. I gained everything back. So, my family could contest to that. I was, just in a very dark place. So again, this urge that I have to help give back to people right now is coming from this urge that I might not have been here without my mentors. And I'm probably pretty sure I wouldn't be. So from there, I was like, so I owe my life to them, and that's what I gained from them. But I gained, my friend Caitlin talks about this as she read it in a book about expanders. So people or events that come into your life that expand either your reality, your perception of reality, your experiences, your comfort zone. So people will come into your life and expand you to become better. And I think a mentor is the greatest person that can expand you. So I don't believe anyone gets better at anything they do. I think we evolve to become different people over the time. So as well as the 7 years that your whole body goes, every 7 years you become a different person. Literally everything's different. That your mind is evolving into this new person. It's still the same in the same sort of, your brain's the same and everything like that. But you evolve to become better. And I know you can probably attest to, like, before you started businesses, I'm sure you were like a little bit scared of doing this, and there was a bit of fear and resistance there. And now it seems simple, because you overcame that boundary. And I look at it like, yes, you overcame the boundary, but you evolved into the new Yasmina. And I was like, again, for me, I just kept evolving, and they were the expanders to allow me to evolve. And sometimes you might need a mentor to allow you. You're not allowing yourself to get better. And they're the person that says, hey, that belief is wrong. And then you start to allow yourself to become the best version of yourself. So it's really interesting. Every mentor is going to do different things, and you might relate with them at the start and then not relate with them later. And I know me, I feel the reciprocity so deeply with my mentor. So I have to give back almost.
Yeah, definitely. It's really powerful. I think one thing that I think is just so profound, as you say, when you're on this journey, you're constantly evolving and you're constantly improving parts of yourself, and you're becoming a different person. You're almost shedding these several old yous. And I read this quote from our mutual connection, Trilstein, and he said something like, there are so many people who know a past version of you that doesn't exist anymore. And I think that really hit deep with me. That really hit deep.
True, that's so true. Yeah. Holy hell.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you had experiences where you've seen old people that you haven't seen in a lot while, and they're just like, I don't know, they look at you a little differently, or you can see the squint in their eye. They're like almost like, who is this, a little bit? Have you had that?
Yeah, someone that you haven't seen in years. Yeah, it's almost like you're a completely new person. It's really interesting. They're like, who is this? It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. But one thing I'm really curious.
Yeah. Go on. Yep.
One thing I'm really curious to know is a common theme throughout this conversation is that you've managed to pitch yourself really well. And I think that's something you need to be able to do as an entrepreneur. And I think that's something that several people also struggle with. So when you're pitching yourself, what's going through your mind? What are you trying to convey to someone?
Well, I can say the whole time I was trying not to pitch myself. That's probably the best thing. I wasn't trying to. I was trying to, you can say, you can be very good at storytelling. And I urge everyone to find, a mentor as like a person that teaches you a lot of things, but also find a comedian that you resonate really well with. Because comedians are the best storytellers in the world, and they actually put every story, they put themselves in either the main character or a spin-off of the main character, or they put themselves in a different light where they're the hero, or their story is the hero's journey. So I learned a lot of the time that there was factors involved in not selling yourself, just being the authentic self of you, and then as well as you can say selling yourself, but I would say like presenting yourself in the best light. So a lot of them is voice tonality, it would be body language, it would be taking the time to it would be basically I'm looking at all the things, voice tonality, body language, as well as how you present yourself, the stories at which you say, how you even structure the stories is really, really key. And so those things that you can learn are very, very quick. Open body language is a great thing. A loud enough voice, no upward inflection on any sort of word. So when you do an upward inflection, it's called you're seeking rapport. So you're seeking to be like, can we be friends? Like, oh my God, really? Oh my God, that's so cool. Like, oh, like, or you might repeat something they say, and all of these things encompass this vibe that you emanate to people. So I would say that when you work on those things, when you work on your personality, yourself, your body language, all those things, as well as learn how to tell stories, you begin to create confidence, and you emanate this vibe where people want to be around you. People are attracted to you. You become this rock star in your own movie, or this main character, as a lot of people say. And I do like it, but I also don't like it because people then try to play a character instead of be yourself. The coolest kids in my school never tried to be cool. They just were cool. They were never trying to do anything. And I think the biggest thing that I did is really understand being present in the moment, being very engaging and engaged in the moment that we're talking about, not thinking about the past or present. It's a great book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And that teaches you how to be present in the moment, how to be engaged, not thinking about, okay, what answer am I going to say? Like, oh my gosh, she said all these things and I got to, draw all this thing, but just being present, listening and being engaging. By that, you're just so in the moment that people can feel it out of you, that essence. It might not have been anything I said. I might not have said all these kind of things that made you say, hey, this guy's really cool. Like, he's got good information, but it might have just been the vibe and the essence and the way I said things that made you think those things. So it might be subtle non-communication. Obviously, communication is only 7% of what we say. And that non-communication, that body language and stuff is 93%. So I would say, if you 80-20 that principle, that your non-verbal communication is the one to work on most of all. But then again, your 7% is very important. Of the actual communication in which you speak is very important too. But that's why I just 80-20 that whole principle, really, I think. And maybe I've just got good at it because I've started to pitch everybody.
Definitely. Yeah. There's so much to unpack in what you just said there, from being a great storyteller to being, because one thing that I like to say is that when your mum tells you, you should just be yourself and everyone will love you. That's really great advice, but it's also really useless because most people don't know who they are, right? Yeah. So first you need to understand who you are, because you can't be authentic if you don't know who you are. But once you know exactly, the way I go about it is I know my value. I literally wrote down here are all the cool things I've done. This is why I'm an awesome person. This is why it would be valuable for other people to get to know me or to work with me. And then once I know that, I don't brag about the stuff, but I can communicate that in an effective way through stories, through things like that. And then like you just know exactly the direction I want to go in. I know exactly what my goals are. I'm very crystal clear. And once you know what your goals are and you know your value, it becomes very easy to just relax and become authentic and communicate that to others effectively.
That's really, really good advice. That's like spot on, 100% spot on. Yeah, there's nothing that you could fault there. And I think, where they're like, just be yourself, just be it. Like, don't worry, just like, honey, just be yourself. It's fine. Like, people will love you for you. It's like, it's the world's worst advice I could ever say. I think the best thing, someone might say with that is that like, oh, how do I know who I am? Like, I haven't done anything cool. And I would say when you sit with yourself for long enough, take a period of sitting with yourself, no phone, no distraction, and literally asking yourself, what is it I want to do? Not any sort of opinion from any other people. What is it I want to do? Do I feel like I want to go to the gym right now? Not really. Do I want to go for a walk? Not really. You know what I want to do? It's like even if it's the most random thing, I want to go feed. Like today, I was like, you know what I really like to do is like pelicans outside where I am. I'm like, wouldn't it be funny to feed one of them? It was just a random thought, but I had the feeling, like I let it up. It's a completely random thing, I know, but I had the thing, and I try to follow my intuition of like, what is it I want to do? And that's how I really understand myself, because sometimes you might have these emotions that come up and you don't know how to fix them. But sometimes you have this intuition or this gut feeling, and a lot of us don't listen to it anymore. And by listening to it, and by, I do a lot of tackling my fears. So any fears I have, I really try to tackle them, because I don't want to be fearful of anything in the world. And that's a way that I've done some pretty cool stuff. Is seeing fear. Obviously it's to a point, and I don't want to jump off a building or anything. That's completely not what I'm saying. But it might be fear of like talking to a stranger. That was a great thing. I was like, oh, I'm so scared about doing that. Or it might be some other fear tactics. Like one of the fear tactics we did with a buddy, it's a program. It was like you had to go into a shop and start completely singing a song. And I was like, wow. Oh God, I don't want to do that. The resistance, the anxiety comes here. Again, one of the greatest things that I've learned, especially if you're dealing with someone like, say today, there was a little bit of nervousness. I either do segment intention, which is a great thing. It's like before any event, I will do, what do I want out of the event? So like today I was listening in brushing my teeth. I was like, I want to have a great podcast with you. I want it to be super natural and flowing. And so I'm literally intending what I want to happen. And I learned that from Law of Attraction, Jerry and Esther Hicks. But the other thing too is like when I did all those fear technique things, like of unleashing the fear, or another one was like just in a busy street, lying down on the road. That's it. Just lying down in the middle of a busy street, with the people walking past. It's just those fear that comes up. I learned to reframe that from, oh my God, that's fear, to, oh my God, that's excitement. So all these mentality things come in to be able to do that. And then from there, I think I got to know how to control my emotions, and I got to know myself better by controlling my emotions a little bit more, which is a cool little thing that you can do.
When you push through that resistance and you make yourself do it anyway, then you can just become free. Like now I'm free. Now I can do whatever I want. It's really funny. I actually did that where I lay down in the street for a few minutes in Paris once, and everyone was coming up to me. They were like, Ça va? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, what? They thought like I was injured or something. It was really funny. I also love how you have just pelicans just where you are. I find that so interesting. How when you're from different places, like, oh, I just have pelicans. I'm like, to me, the concept of a pelican is just something that's so far away, like extremely
Brighton, down at Brighton, the beach or something like that. That's the only place you get them. Yeah, we got a little lake around. Oh, it's a river, and they're always there. And I haven't seen any sharks. It's a big river for sharks. And I haven't seen any yet, but I saw two kids like swimming across it. I'm like, oh my God, are they going to die? I'm like, I was literally watching it. I was like, oh, it's so bad. Anyways,
wow. I'm really glad sharks are a thing in the UK. I mean, we do have sharks, but we call them business sharks. So,
business shark, eh?
Okay. Yeah. You know, the sharks business. Do you like the people in Shark Tank in America, the business sharks?
I love it.
Before I ask you my final question, I'd love to know, what are some rules that you have for your life that lead to success?
Wow, that's a good question. I think I just said one. You know, if I'm fearful of anything, I don't like to have fear in my life. I don't like to be held back by something that's intangible that could be conjured by my mind, and that's a big thing. When I want to always push my comfort zone. That's number one. I always want to push my comfort zone. Now, a lot of people hear that, and people might be already tuning out right now. Oh, push your comfort zone. That's okay. But I'm like, no. I want to tackle that fear. I want to, you know, we're all fearful of something, you know, and we're all controlled by this urge to like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. That's scary. That's this, that's that. What if people won't like me, you know, and I want to punch through those barriers that I have. And that's led me to a lot of cool stuff that I've done. I never wanted to, you know, stagnate. That was a big thing. And by living in this comfort zone, you live in stagnation. And then if you know anything about, you know, water and stuff like that, obviously stagnation, you know, the water gets murky, gets, you know, all sorts of bad things happen. And that's what I think happens in your mind and your body when you do stagnate for too long. So by pushing that comfort zone, you get that water running again. It becomes a free flowing river again. And then after a while, it becomes a rapid when you're doing too many things and you get too rapid and you need to calm it down a little bit. So that would be my rule number one. Rule number two for success. That's a really good question. I've never thought of like, what are my rules? But I would say meditating a lot. Yeah, meditating would be a great thing. Learning how to control the emotions and learning how to control your thoughts is a real powerful thing, because understanding that you're not controlled by your thoughts. Some people have these like two, you know, you have this one brain that's telling you go do this, and then you're like, oh no, I don't want to do that or this, and then you're like, almost like you're conflicting. So when you can kind of link the two together, it's a really, really powerful thing. Another rule to success that I have, this is more of a physical thing that people can incorporate today. Whenever you're talking to someone and you want to be very logical, you talk to someone's right eye, so their right eye, because it connects to their left-hand brain. Whenever you want to do something emotional, you connect to their left eye because it connects to the right-hand side of the brain. I always do that I do all the time. I learned that from ages ago, and I don't know if it works, but it's just something I do. But it also makes me do a lot of eye contact with that. So that's one that really helps my body language, really helps any sort of communication I have with anyone. And it takes it from just like when people are like, oh, just, you know, eye contact's a big thing for people. They're scared to do it. But it takes it from just look at their eyes to look at a particular eye. It gives it sort of a different meaning. Oh, okay, like I understand that. That's pretty cool. And number three would be always be learning something. Whether it's, I know you know 7 languages, which is absolutely insane, even probably more now. Like that
I wish.
That's probably, you know, that's incredible. And I feel, this is just my opinion, that you've got to keep your brain active. I have 2 grandparents and they're in their 90s right now, and not an ounce of Alzheimer's in my family. And they keep their minds so sharp. I mean, my grandma's doing the hardest, like the very hard crosswords, and she's like excelling at it. She's a whiz at it, you know what I mean? And they've always kept that's what I got from my family. They've always kept their brain learning, and books are a great thing because someone spent their whole life, 60 years, and they've put it into a book. And for you to take a week or 2 weeks to read it, you've just incurred 60 years of knowledge. So it's like, it's a no-brainer to read, to keep learning as you do. And that's learning things that make you uncomfortable. Again, that goes back to rule number 1. That would be my principles of life. Sam's principles of life.
Sam's rule book to life, like embossed, looks like the Bible. Is like you open it, you're like, this is Sam's Bible.
Yeah, so 3 pages. That's all it is.
I feel like you've already answered my final question, Sam, but I'm going to answer it anyway, just to see if something new comes out, which is, what are 3 key truths about the entrepreneurial journey that you would drop on a young entrepreneur today?
It doesn't have to be lonely. It can be very, very social. Entrepreneurs don't have to be that lone wolf. You know, there's so many memes and so many things. Like, I know there's like a picture of a skyscraper and it's like one light on. It's like, that's an entrepreneurial's apartment. It's like, it doesn't have to be that. Sure, you can make like that. It doesn't have to be this lonely grind. I urge people to realize it doesn't have to be this lonely grind, and the way to success is actually having a social circle that might not be predicated on on all entrepreneurial stuff, but just a social circle of people doing cool stuff with the osmosis effect of the 5 closest people. With Jim Rohn's, the 5 closest people to you actually dictate who you are. Obviously, he worked it a little differently than that, but that's a big thing. So you want to get people that are around you that are doing some amazing stuff that inspire you to be better. Like I have this kid that moved into my apartment block. He became a sales rep, so he goes door knocking, right? So it's an example. And I think he got 4 promotions in 2 months. And this kid just excelled. So he went from the bottom of the rank, and now he has his own team making close to, like, I think he's going to make, if he continues the track, like $100,000 this year. And I'm like, I've literally watched him get full promotion. I'm like, damn, this kid is good. And he hustles so hard, which is really cool that I get to see something like that. So that would be number one. Another truth that I would have that's interesting is this is something that happened with me, but as you get older in your life, if you are in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you do slow down. Don't get me wrong. Your energy does diminish. We can't help that. It does diminish. About hanging out with younger people. So people that are doing some cool stuff in their 20s, and they've got that youth and the vitality and that naiveness there, which is really, really cool. Because that was me when my mentor took me on. He was in his late 30s, and one of the key things that I could offer him, in the value that I could offer him, was that youthful, energetic energy to even kick his ass, be like, what are you doing lying down? Get the hell up, let's go. And to have that around osmosically, you align yourself as you get older with this young energy, and you start to get more energy, and you got to keep that momentum going into your 40s and 50s and 60s. Because I was around people that were getting older like that, I did notice that. And especially in golf, you saw the older boys, we call them the older boys, the 40s and 50s and 60s. They're not old, guys. If you are that age, you're not old. I'm just saying we call them the older boys. But when they hung around and they played golf with the younger kids, they got better, because it was just so naive. It was so youthful. So I definitely, as you get older, put yourself around people that are younger to keep the momentum of energy, just keep going. And then the last truth is that we're only here for a short time. And so it's you, by making the most of every moment that you have, is the greatest thing. I was on the brink of it, and now I try to live every day like it's my last. That stoic philosophy that Marcus Aurelius talks about, contemplating the imminent death that we all have, is a way to kick your ass and be able to do some cool stuff every day. It's like, you never know, people say you never know. It's like, but when you do contemplate it, and we do know that there is an end to this virtual, sort of stimulation that we have, it makes you be like, well, wasting the time or watching, for me, the Netflix, I hate watching Netflix in the moment, because it's just such a waste of time. I don't get it. So I take one little step. If you want to just, start to do one little step, say if you are watching Netflix or anything, you're addicted to it. I told the guys just to watch entrepreneurial stuff on Netflix, just that little bit, one level there. If you are stagnant in your business, just take one new idea that's completely different or completely radical from what you were thinking before. Just doing those baby steps, because you never know when it might be, the end. And that's okay, because by knowing that, at least you can give life like 110%. You can go hard at it. Because it's like, it gives it that sort of bittersweet feeling. It's like, I'm going to put everything I've got into it. And for that, it's like, yeah, it might not be a legacy or anything like that. I never like to think that, but at least you'll be proud of what you've done as a person. And that's the only person that you want to really make happy and proud of is yourself. So that would be my biggest thing that I'd learn.
That's really powerful. I think, again, it comes back to that. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be 1% better. And if you can do that every day, your actions are going to compound exponentially over time, and your life is going to look totally different 1 year from now than it does today.
That evolution. Yeah. I always look at the Pokemon evolution. You got a Charmander go into a Charizard at the end. It's like that evolution. That's you as a person.
Yeah. I never played Pokemon, but I'm sure many people will get the analogy.
Yeah, you're nodding like, yeah, I don't understand, but they're like, yeah, right.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Sam. That was extremely powerful. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug to the people, and where can people find you?
Basically, you can find me on YouTube. Just my name, Sam Matheson. which is like my new channel that I started up. I'm trying to upload 3 to 5 times a week on that. And my Instagram, which is Sam Matheson too. Couldn't get the original Sam Matheson. I'm going to have to message him and see if I can get that from him. You ever got that? People actually like DMing each other to try get Instagrams off other people. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try and get my full name now.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I'll put all of that in the show notes. Go check out Sam's YouTube channel. I have no doubt that you're going to be dropping some awesome content on there. With that said, thank you so much for your time, Sam. It was awesome.
No, thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you.